Hi, it's Stella from Chasing Waters. I needed painting for this piece. As you can see, I finished it and I wanted to take you with me throughout the process. So here we go. Lately I've been feeling kind of stuck on what I wanted to create. I think especially when you think you find some sort of vision that you think is your style, that it's easy to get trapped in that one way of expressing yourself and not really seeing what could be. And for a long time as well, I think I've been creating these things that are very structured, very clean, and at some point there has to come some resistance to it. There has to come some kind of rebellion. I'm not a fan of being put in boxes, nor do I like to put myself in boxes, which is bound to happen every now and then. And at this point, I did feel like it was happening, and I needed to create something in contradiction to what I have been creating to feel sane. I think creating the same over and over again doesn't only get bored for you, but also gets bored for whoever is seeing your stuff. And I think it limits you in a creative way. And you have to listen to yourself when you have that feeling of that you don't want to create. And you have to really sit down with yourself and recognize why that is and why there's such resistance towards it. I've been trying lately to get a lot better when it comes to listening to my intuition. Although I thought that was something I was good at, I still find myself going against that. And I think a lot of us do in many ways. We go towards the stress because we're used to the stress. We go towards the anxiety because we are used to the anxiety. But what happens when we choose to follow joy? What really happens when we follow ease? We're so conditioned in this life to think that ease is a privilege only for the few, and that even if you do have ease, that you should be ashamed of it, or you should hide it, or you should force struggle upon your existence to even be worthy of some type of enjoyment. I think that people get forced into this cycle, including me, of pushing and pushing, and at some point you recognize that what you've been pushing for is actually something that you already have and that you can already access. But you just have to give yourself the permission to access it, the permission to feel it. Lately I've been trying to do things that are aligned with my own feelings of joy. Not that I haven't before, but it's been more of a focus more of a theme of this season of life, and to be more conscious of what I'm creating based on that. I don't want to force myself to create something I don't want to create, although that was an idea I had in my head for the past few months, and that's how I imagine it to be, to let go of the idea and the plans that you had for yourself, and to let space for things that feels good in the moment without it being too impulsive is something I think we all need to reflect upon. And it's not the need for direct gratification and instant gratification. It's more of a listening of self and understanding what actually moves you and what doesn't. And if you have the choice, why choose to be stubborn only to prove to yourself even that you went through with something that you had planned, even when nobody else knows about your plans than you. I've been mentioning this book several times lately, but in Essentialism, they were talking about choosing things that are a hell yeah, rather than maybe or well, it's better than the other options. You find yourself having more time and more energy when you only choose to put your energy into things that give you energy back. Things that you're excited about, things that light you up. So in a way, for me, choosing this different style and rambling on about it is a way for me to acknowledge that and practice that in my own life. And you're just seeing a result of that. The first year at university, and I remember my teacher was telling me how I had to be in control of everything. I guess that could be a reflection of the art, that the art usually reflects the life as well. Like anything and everything that shapes our reality is based on our upbringing, the systems we've created for ourselves in our head, and a lot of things come out of survival. A lot of times we put ourselves into these systems of imaginary control to put ourselves in ease. True control is knowing that you don't have control of anything and everything besides from your perception, besides from your reflection, and besides from your reaction. That's the only thing you have control over, and everything else is relative. I wanted to invite myself to create out of impulsivity rather than organization and structure. I wanted to invite myself to create out of my intuition and my impulses right there and then, rather than structures that I put upon myself. And I wanted to invite you to have a look into that process with me. I wanted to sit down and talk about the meaning behind this painting because why not? So it's inspired by The Biology of Belief, a book I'm reading currently that I'm not finished and I'm not even halfway yet. It's a heavy read because it is actually of a scientist, biologist, so it's quite heavy at some times. And last time I had biology, I was like 17 years old, so I don't really remember a lot about it. Basically, in this book, he's talking about how we should reimagine the way we think about genetics and how it's actually not as faded as we think it is, and how scientists has been telling us it is for so long. And this is when it comes to anything really of genetics. He specifies when it comes to diseases because obviously that's more easier thing to have statistics upon, but it can also be used for, abilities, creative, talents, or anything really that we often look at and we're like, oh, their mother or their father had that, or somebody in their family, and it's genetics. But this book actually talks about how important the environment has to do with the end results, basically. For example, he was talking about how single gene disorders, where you're guaranteed to get a disorder because of your genes, only affects 2% of the population, and the rest of it is due to the environment, which is the food, the anxiety levels, the people you spend your time in, the climate, everything else but, the genes. And that the genes need triggers to actually, activate. And I think what he's trying to say through all these informations is that you're more in charge of your own reality than what you think you are. Because a lot of people basically get given these life sentences based on a test, a genetic test. And I think a lot of people give up even before they start trying. And I'm a huge believer of that you can create your own reality, at least to a certain extent. And it's interesting that the science and biology are now being able to prove it in ways that are more tangible, because I think that was the basis of why people were not able to understand or fathom or choose to believe in, manifestation, visualization, all of these things, because it wasn't something you could grasp, it wasn't something you could prove in a way. But now we've come to the point that it is slowly and surely getting proven, but also obviously there's always a contradicting movement to things that may change the way you look at your own reality. So there's always people that are gonna fight against new ideas that challenge their own ideas. But yeah, anyways, I think it's very interesting. I'm not sure any of this made sense. Anything in this video made sense today, but nevertheless, I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you again. And yeah, have a good one.